Below is your clean, extended narration version. The human specimen, designated as Thomas Kell, should have been unconscious. Dr. Verath pressed 3 of her 4 manipulator appendages against the observation panel. Her bioluminescent patches flickered amber with confusion as she stared into the surgical theater beyond the glass. Behind her, the medical bay of Research Station Theta 9 hummed with the quiet mechanical rhythm of advanced alien technology. Diagnostic scanners pulsed with soft blue light. Life support monitors whispered steady streams of data. The air itself carried the sterile scent of antiseptic vapors and ionized particles. Normally, the environment was calm and predictable. Today, it was not. The room was filled with quiet murmurs as researchers from several species observed their very first human test subject. On the table at the center of the room lay Thomas Kell, a human miner taken from a distant Terran colony orbiting a rocky asteroid belt at the edge of consortium space. He had been restrained, sedated, secured, or at least he was supposed to be. His neural suppressors are functioning at maximum capacity, junior researcher Plynn announced nervously from his terminal, his long tail wrapped tightly around the base of his stool as if seeking stability. There is absolutely no conceivable reason he should be exhibiting consciousness. Yet Thomas Kell's eyes were open, not just open, focused, tracking movement across the surgical theater with a level of awareness that made several researchers uncomfortable. The human watched them, studied them, evaluated them. Verath felt an uneasy ripple move through her respiratory sacs. "Increase the dosage," she ordered calmly. Plynn's digits moved quickly across the haptic interface, boosting the sedative concentration to levels far beyond standard biological tolerance. Dosage increased to 340% of calculated requirement. Everyone waited. Thomas blinked once, then again, and then his lips curled upward. Verath recognized the expression from the human cultural database. A smile, though the version appearing on Thomas Kell's face contained far more predatory intent than the examples in the files. "You know," Thomas said slowly. His voice sounded slightly distorted through the atmospheric converter attached to his throat. "Where I come from, it's considered pretty rude to drug someone without buying them dinner first." Several scientists froze. Verath's patches flared bright orange in shock. The human wasn't just conscious, he was talking. And worse, he was being sarcastic. The first problem with studying humans. Dr. Ingram leaned closer to the observation glass, all 6 of his optical sensors dilating with scientific fascination. "Fascinating," he whispered. "The sedatives appear completely ineffective. His metabolic resistance is extraordinary." Extraordinary is one word for it. Problematic is another. Thomas slowly turned his head despite the neural restraints securing him to the table. That alone should have been impossible. "So let me get this straight," he said casually. "You people grabbed me off a mining colony, stuffed me in a crate for what felt like 3 weeks, and now you're pumping me full of enough sedatives to knock out an elephant?" He tilted his head slightly. "And you call this a medical exam?" Verath steadied herself. "We are conducting a comprehensive biological analysis," she explained carefully. "Your species has been classified as a potential threat level Omega-7. The Galactic Medical Consortium requires detailed physiological mapping before humans can be integrated into standard populations." "Threat level Omega-7? Thomas barked out a laugh. "That's adorable." Several researchers exchanged worried glances. the human wasn't acting like a prisoner. He was acting like someone who knew something they didn't. The conversation that changed everything. After several minutes of increasingly sarcastic comments from Thomas and increasingly confused responses from the researchers, Voroth made a decision. Release the neural restraints. The room fell silent. "Doctor," Plynn began nervously. "Release them," she repeated. The metal restraints retracted. Thomas slowly sat up. He rolled his shoulders with a series of loud pops that made several researchers flinch. "Thank you," he said sincerely. "Seriously, being strapped down isn't great for my mental health." Voroth studied him carefully. "You are remarkably calm for someone in your situation." Thomas shrugged. "Humans are adaptable." He paused. "Also, I figured talking was better than screaming." Then he smiled again. "And I had a feeling help was probably already on the way." The lesson about pain. The researchers soon discovered something unusual. Once treated like a participant instead of a specimen, Thomas became extremely cooperative. He answered questions, explained human physiology, even agreed to participate in basic sensory tests. But when the discussion turned to pain testing, Thomas made a request that shocked everyone. "Before you test it on me," he said calmly, "one of you tries it first." The room fell silent again. "That would be highly irregular," Plynn said. "So is kidnapping people for experiments," Thomas replied casually. Voroth slowly approached the testing device. "Configure level 7 stimulus," she ordered. 3 seconds later, pain exploded through her nervous system like a supernova. Her entire body collapsed under the overwhelming signal. When it finally ended, Thomas was kneeling beside her, helping her up. "You okay?" he asked gently. Voroth struggled to breathe. "That was unacceptable." Thomas nodded. "Exactly." Then he looked at the other researchers. Pain isn't data. It's experience. And the worst part about pain is facing it alone. Just then, the station alarm began to sound. "Incoming vessel detected," Plynn shouted. "It's broadcasting Terran diplomatic codes." Thomas grinned. "Right on schedule." Moments later, the station received a transmission. "This is Captain Williams of the Terran Diplomatic Corps vessel Resolute. You are currently in violation of 17 Terran protection statutes. You will immediately release citizen Thomas Kell. You have 5 minutes." Thomas stretched his arms. "See?" he said cheerfully. "Help arrived." What happened next? The Terran diplomats did not destroy the station. Instead, they listened. They negotiated, and Thomas made a surprising decision. He recommended collaboration instead of punishment. Within weeks, the same researchers who had kidnapped him were working alongside human doctors, studying pain, ethics, empathy, and something unexpected. The discovery that changed the galaxy. Across multiple species, researchers noticed a strange pattern. Pain experienced alone felt worse. Pain experienced with supportive observers felt less intense. Across hundreds of experiments, the results remained consistent. Empathy reduced suffering. Recognition reduced distress. Connection changed everything. Eventually, the team published their findings. The study was titled Empathetic Observation as a Universal Analgesic. At first, the medical community rejected it, but when hospitals began testing the theory, patient recovery improved, pain medication usage dropped, and millions of beings across the galaxy experienced something revolutionary: medical care that treated them like people, not specimens. 1 year later. Nearly a year after the incident, Thomas stood beside Dr. Voroth on the observation deck of the Terran research vessel Nightingale. Stars drifted silently past the viewport. You ever think about how weird this is? A year ago, you kidnapped me. Now we're colleagues. Varoth's patches glowed softly. Empathy changes things. Thomas nodded. Yeah, it really does. They stood together watching the stars, two beings from different worlds, connected not by science, but by understanding. And somewhere across the galaxy, billions of patients were receiving better care because one human refused to stay unconscious and one alien scientist chose to listen.